This is Light Chasers, Season 1, Episode 3. Let's get it. Hey, welcome back to another episode of Light Chasers. My name is Brian Fitton, and this is the podcast for a new generation of photographers and filmmakers. I am so pumped for you guys to join us today. We have a very special interview with Philip Thomas of Novo Studio. But before we get into that, I wanted to kind of give a brief overview of who we are and what we do. So we actually do a live interview on Facebook. On our Light Chasers page. You can check that out, facebook.com// Light Chasers Live. And make sure you guys subscribe and over there to actually get some updates. But what we do is actually engage with you on there as well. So that way, if you have questions for the photographer or about, honestly about their story, about gear, about, we do an image review, so about any of their photos that they're sharing. It's so much fun to kind of get that engagement and obviously get those questions flowing, because there's not really a lot of opportunities to do that, especially with people who have been in the business for a while and have paid their dues and are obviously at a place of success right now. And so anyway, I would love for you guys to check that out over at Facebook, but also you can subscribe and see our blog post and everything at lightchasers.live. So check that out, and we're going to go ahead and kick it off with the interview with Philip Thomas right now. And stick around. Make sure you guys subscribe in iTunes if you're listening on the audio side of this, and we'll jump right into it right now. Thanks. Anyway, thank you guys for joining us. We're so excited to have this guy with us. So a little bit about Philip. He actually, I think it was 2.5 years ago, he actually did an interview with me, and it was terrible. I botched the whole thing, and then I felt really bad, and so we didn't talk for 2 years until now. And so he agreed to come back on and do this with me, because I told you guys originally.
Reconciliation is a beautiful thing.
I apologize, brought him a gift basket, fruit basket exactly. But so it's one of those things that I had messed it up pretty bad, the first one. So this has been a long time coming, which I told you guys in the previous episode. But what we're doing today is we're going to talk with Philip basically about his story, where he started at, where he came from, and honestly where he is now. He's into several different things, and I'm really excited to have him tell you guys about that. And then we're also going to open it up for questions. If we have any for Philip, he'll be able to answer some of those. So I'd really, really encourage you guys to ask some questions, to be talking with him a little bit, and anything that you want to know, because that's the point of this show, is to, get people like you who have been in the business for a while and be able to actually ask you some questions without having to buy you coffee. Sorry, I didn't buy you coffee.
It's all right.
But you know what I mean. It's just one of those that a lot of times we don't have access to people, and so I really, honestly, Philip is an amazing guy, so I'm very honored that he's here and the fact that he's sitting down with us. So anyway, enough with the glasses.
Yeah.
Enough with this.
I think we're safe.
I think we're okay. Sorry, this eclipse thing has just messed my world up today. It's been nuts. So, all right. So we're gonna go ahead and kick it off. So Philip, tell me a little bit about you and what you do right now. How do you make your living? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. So I am a full-time professional photographer. A lot of people think that you have to have a degree or some certifications, and I know there's some certifications you can get to say you're a professional photographer, but really it's making your living day in and day out with what you do. And so that's what I do with photography. I've been doing it for a little over 10 years now. I'm also a husband and a dad to 2 kids that are 30 minutes apart, so twins. And there are 3 right now, so that takes up quite a bit of my world as well. But I do spend a lot of time behind the camera and behind the computer, and a little bit of time behind the solar eclipse glasses. So,
what would you say your time is spent more with the behind the? No, I'm not even going to get into that. Yeah. So, I know a little bit about your story, but it's actually been a little while since I've heard it. So tell us, honestly, when that moment was that you decided, like, hey, I'm going to go for this. Like, I'm going to try to be a photographer, a designer, or whatever it is. Like, talk to me about that moment, kind of what you were, where you were, what you were doing, like.
Okay. Well, there's probably two pivotal moments that kind of pushed me into photography and into the world of entrepreneurship. The first was in college, and I was a graphic design major. About halfway through my college time as a graphic design major, I had a very disgruntled, very angry, and I don't know why he was angry, but he was just angry professor tell me that I'd never make it as a graphic designer because I couldn't draw well enough. And, you know, he was also my academic advisor, so I was sort of waiting for the, but here's what you do, you know, solution. And he just kind of left it hanging, and I said, well, you know, do I need to, you know, do something else or just quit altogether, or what do I do? Crawl in a hole and let the eclipse happen time and time again? So anyway, he said, well, you can take some business classes, and that really didn't interest me. Numbers have never been my strong suit. So I decided on my own that I would sort of take up photography, because I thought if I could learn how to shoot good images and create good images with a camera, that would, you know, alleviate my need to draw images in the world of graphic design. So that was what pushed me into photography. I got a camera, and I started shooting for like the school newspaper. You know, doing stuff like that. They would give me stories to cover, and then I would shoot stuff from my class projects and some for other people's projects. And so that's kind of what happened to get me into photography. Now, much to the dismay of my professor, I got a job in graphic design out of college.
Is that on purpose? Were you just like, show you, buddy?
I mean, I joke about it, but he really did kind of send me into like okay, if I'm going to do this, I really have to like almost overcorrect myself. So anyway, I did get a job at a hat company as a graphic designer. Now, I didn't design hats. I actually laid out the product catalogs for all the hats. So I would create these 50-page product catalogs, and I would take images that other people had shot, put them in the catalog, put in all the text, do all that sort of stuff. My job there, I kind of actually learned some about product photography and about, you know, Photoshop and that sort of thing. And so that kind of furthered my, I guess, interest and expertise in it, or skill, I should say. 2 years into that job, I got burned out and just was looking to do something different. And by that time, I'd already kind of gotten into shooting some wedding photography, just following a wedding photographer around. I figured I wouldn't be doing my job forever, and I thought I might just try to figure out what else I could do with photography and graphic design. So cold turkey in 2006, I quit my job and just started working on my own.
Wow.
Worked out of my house for 4 years, and you know, just kind of went along with whatever came.
Yeah.
Put all my money into the business pretty much, and, you know, got gear. And so that was 10 plus years ago. So.
Oh yeah, we recently talked about that. You didn't realize that you were hit your 10-year anniversary.
No.
Until LinkedIn.
No, LinkedIn informed me. LinkedIn is pretty worthless, except for the fact that it told me that I'd been doing my job for 10 years, and I probably needed to share that milestone with the world. So I scraped together a photo, lens cap, and a mechanical pencil to make the number 10, and that was my. Oh, hey, by the way.
Oh yeah,
10 years.
Here we are, 10 years later. That's awesome, man. Well, that's obviously leading up to that moment. You were obviously kind of planning ahead of time, and I think a big piece of that, which is great for all photographers out there, for people who are wanting to get into photography or starting shooting, is following somebody around, which I think is awesome. I think as photographers, we kind of put ourselves in this place of like, well, I know what I'm doing. Like we have to portray this professionalism, or, you know, that we know more than what we do. But it's kind of cool to see like, hey, I didn't know what I was doing, and I had to obviously follow somebody who did know what they were doing and learn from them. So
Yeah. Everything I've learned pretty much from photography is from other people or trying it and failing and learning from my mistakes. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. There's a story, I think it's Jeremy Coward, that talks about he had actually gotten like a front page for some magazine, like this big shoot that he was doing, and he didn't understand what the autofocus button was, or there was something like very basic on his camera that he had no idea. And here he was doing like magazine spreads. But that just like reassured me that even people like him who are just amazing at what they do started somewhere, obviously. So, all right. So we are going to, let me check this out, see if we've got any questions at all coming through. JG Miller, we got anything right now? Any questions coming up? You see anything? Do it? No. That's all right. What we're going to do is we're going to jump into some image reviews. And so this is awesome because I followed Philip's work for a while. And when we were going through this, there was an image that I'm excited to talk about that was, and there's a story behind that for when I actually met Philip and we got to hang out. So I'm very excited I immediately laughed when I saw the photo because it brought back some crazy memories. And we'll talk about those in just a second. There's your teaser. If you're about to leave, stick around.
Got 2 viewers.
Because it's going to be good. It's going to be good, man. All right. So, Miller, let's jump over to the photos. So, Philip, just kind of walk us through, and we'll kind of take a look at some of Philip's work, but we'll also talk about a few of these images. So if there's actually an image that you see that you want to ask a question about for Philip, please let us know, and we'll do that. So, Philip, let's talk about this image first. Obviously, the composition that you have here, and what I noticed a lot about your images, you shoot through things, or you shoot with obviously other things in focus or in out of focus as well. So talk to us a little bit about what exactly is going on in this photo.
So this guy, his name is Carl Walter, and he is a shoe cobbler, shoe repair man. And he had a space in downtown Rogers, a couple doors down from where my studio is, and he'd been working for, oh goodness, since the 50s or 60s in the shoe repair business, and he'd been in Rogers for probably close to 40 years.
Wow.
Of that. And he's just a really cool guy, and you know, you shoot the same stuff day in and day out sometimes, and you get kind of bored, and so I sort of took it upon myself to get out and walk around and kind of meet some of the people around my studio space. And he was the first person that I kind of wanted to go meet and take photos of. And I had this series on my blog, I still have it, called Meet the Neighbors. And that's just kind of what I do. I go and I get a story from neighbors, and I get some photos, and I post it on my blog. And so Carl actually was in World War II, served, and crazy story, but he was on a ship that was headed to Japan, and before his ship made it to Japan, the atomic bomb was dropped, and so his ship turned around and went back.
Whoa.
So he actually didn't see combat, but just a really cool guy, and his space was just as or even more unique than he was. It was one of those places you walk into and you literally, quite literally, walk back in time. The stuff that was in there, the accumulation of stuff, the age of the stuff, the fact that shoe repair is, you know, there's lots of oils and chemicals and stains and things, and all of that stuff had been sitting in his shop for, you know, God knows how long. And so there's just this odor and this sense of, like, I don't know where I am, but I'm not in Kansas anymore, Arkansas. So anyway, I spent some time in there. I got his story, talked to him, probably 3 or 4 hours worth. And this is just a photo of him working. You know, he was close to 90 years old when I interviewed him.
Wow. And
he actually just recently passed away. So he lived a good, long, full life. But, you know, I really love that image. I love him. His family has taken over the shop, and they still do what he's doing.
Wow.
Or what he was doing. And so they've made some changes to the shop, so it looks, a little more up to date, but they
So
take credit cards
1950s,
now, and
okay.
all the signs are actual signs and not handwritten signs that say no credit card machine. So,
That's
it's
awesome.
it's cool, but yeah.
That is cool. So
That's Carl.
where is this at? Where is this located?
So the shop is in downtown Rogers. My street address is 108 West Walnut, so it's just a little bit west of my space by 2 or 3 doors. So
nice.
I'm not sure what way the numbers. I should
a
know
little
this by
jumbled
now,
there.
but
no,
yeah.
that's all right. That's incredible. Thanks for sharing that. That's honestly what happens is you start looking at a photo, and I look at it, I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's an older guy doing something, but obviously there's history there, and the fact that obviously the war story behind that too is incredible. Will kind of always stick out in my mind. That's crazy. All right, so let's move on here. So here's a photo just for our and I apologize, I should have said this up front. So for our audio replay viewers, this photo is a picture of a Tyrannosaurus Rex and then 2 people in front of him, not photoshopped. There's not anything photoshopped. Kind of tell us a little bit about this. Well,
this is actually an engagement photo from maybe a couple years ago. And there's really no good story behind it. The dinosaur's not real. They're not about to get eaten or anything like that. But I love kind of humor in engagement photos. There's obviously a lot to be said about just people relaxing and enjoying the company of each other and celebrating the fact that they're getting married. But I like to take things a few steps further and add odd things like dinosaurs or murals or whatever I can find to photos. And so this is just kind of a quirky atypical engagement photo, and I love it because it's very simple, but it's very just kind of I don't know, quirky.
Definitely different. That's awesome. All right, so let's. We had talked about this photo too. This is a absolutely gorgeous photo. The colors are amazing. So this one, just to kind of set the stage, is a couple, obviously hiding under an awning because it looks like it's raining, and they're wearing some crazy looking sunglasses. This kind of almost keeps going with your theme of a little quirky, but this honestly, it looks like a lot of fun. It makes me want to be there and hang out there, whatever's happening here. So
they're great people. This is John and Stacy, and They were in Dallas about the time that these engagement photos were shot, and so they had planned, to come on a weekend and come down for engagement photos. And wouldn't you know it, the forecast for the Sunday we were set to shoot, it wasn't 20% chance of showers. It wasn't like 60% chance of isolated thunderstorms. It was like 150% chance of the hardest rain you've ever seen in your life, all day long, no questions asked. Period.
There's no way around it.
No way around it. So we met at a coffee shop and dried off from the car to the coffee shop, and then pulled my phone out, and I was like, "Well, guys, we're gonna do these photos. I don't know how. I bet we're gonna get wet, but let's just figure out where there's the least amount of rain." So we actually drove east from Fayetteville out into Huntsville.
Okay.
And then up north into Eureka Springs, because by the time we got done in Huntsville, the rain found us, so we had to make a beeline north. But you can't plan stuff. Yeah. You just kind of have to go with it. And these guys, they had quite a few clothes to change into, so one outfit got soaked, they would just change and go to another one. And
that's
but
a
they
tip.
were just
That's a tip
that
right
is
there.
That's a tip.
So
Pro
tell
tip.
your
Pro tip,
people
lots of clothes.
Bring lots of changes of clothes and outfits and different things.
Only if it's going to rain, though. If it's not going to rain, you can
you'll be
bring
there
your
all day.
normal amount.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So they just lived it up, and their personalities are such that I think they're probably happier that it rained than it was just typical sunny. So
well, I can see, and honestly, in this photo, it looks like they have a little more of themselves is coming out rather than a posed photo or something like that. So that's pretty awesome.
And the bike they're riding is like a stationary decor item in front of a flower shop. So they weren't actually riding a bike. I want to clear that up because bicycle safety is a thing, and they're not wearing helmets. I mean, and cute heart-shaped glasses really aren't going to protect them if they fall.
I was
So
yeah.
it
I was
is
just
stationary.
to be honest with you, I was just gonna forward all the hate mail directly to you.
Directly to me. Thank
when
you.
people start accusing
Bicycle advocacy. Yeah. There we
the
go.
riots start forming. So, all right, we're gonna jump ahead here. So we'll take a brief minute on this photo because this is something that I'm involved in as well. So talk to us about this right here.
Well, this is the lead singer of the Sons of Otis Malone.
Yeah,
I say that like they're a local
draw.
celebrity group.
Yeah.
And so we did a video shoot, and this is what Brian was talking about. We do a kind of a collective group of artists kind of come together to create these live music videos for music artists in the area. And a lot of times I'll kind of snap photos behind the scenes or even during the production or whatever. And this is one of those photos. You'll notice it's sized a little bit differently. It may be full screen on the computer, but I'm noticing it's sized a little differently. And it was actually shot while he was performing, which the video editor corrected me after the fact that I shouldn't be shooting photos while I'm actually recording video. One of those, hey, you learn from your mistakes, right? So
that's awesome.
But there's several layers to this this photo, and really the layers are added by shooting through an object. And a lot of times with video, these videos specifically, I have a clear Nalgene water bottle that I'll fill halfway up with water. And actually that's a good. I haven't tried other liquids. I should try. The
eclipse is inspiring you to try other things. To
it is. If I'm blind, at least I can shoot through liquid stuff. Anyway, so yeah, this is one of the photos that I've just put a water bottle up to the side of my lens, not completely in front, but just the side. And the fact that the water moves and the fact that it just refracts light in different ways just gives it a really interesting motion. For some reason, the song they were playing and the motion of the water together it worked out really well. Like it kind of gave me chills as I was doing it, or as the professionals say, the heebie-jeebies.
Oh yeah. The technical term.
Yeah, technical term.
I've heard.
But it was really cool. Now I don't recommend a used Nalgene bottle because scrapes and scuffs limit the visibility, but a nice new Nalgene bottle goes a long way as a filter. So
that's awesome. Well, and the big thing too is shout out to Jason Miller because he's part of this Red Barn studio that we're in right now. He is the owner and operator. He's also our producer tonight. So thank you, Jason Miller. But
he's over there.
He's over there off camera, probably in front of the Instagram camera, but that's all right. So just so you guys know, make sure to check out Red Barn Studio on YouTube. You can see all of our videos. And a little shout out for Gregory Allen Isaacoff. We're up to like 300, 400,000 views now on his video. Yeah. So make sure you guys check that out. I mean, that's some pretty cool stuff right there.
Is the Nalgene on that one?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Maybe next time around. We can. So we're gonna look through a few other images here. We got to get one of the kids because this will kind of give you a little bit behind the scenes of Philip's studio. He has a really cool studio space in downtown Rogers, and talk to us just a little bit about this photo here.
So this is Weston. This is my oldest kid by 30 minutes, and we were eating across the street. Shout out to Ham and Trees grilled cheese sandwiches. They're delicious.
Oh, so good.
And I believe it was maybe the first outing that we took them on. We had to keep them inside for about 10 months after they were born. They were 2 months early, and their immune systems were not fully developed. So we kept them indoors, kept them away from public spaces for 10 months. And then this is probably one of the first times we actually took them out to eat. And then I took him over to the studio, and he was just kind of walking around, like looking at everything. And I just snapped that photo of him, so I kind of keep it as a memento.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So,
and a future owner of Novo Studio, hopefully too.
Yeah, we'll see. He's pretty big into sticks. He might go that route.
As a woodsman.
Who
knows? All right, so we'll there's one more photo that I want to take a look at, and you guys can obviously see some of Philip's work. We'll have it on the blog. Two more real quick. So Philip is big into mountain biking, and he's done a ton of mountain biking work. I'll just make this plug. So this is for the Rail Yard in downtown Rogers, and it's an amazing place. If you haven't been there, you definitely need to check it out. But amazing shot, I think, is one of my favorites of yours, of the mountain biking community as well. But anyway, make sure you guys check that out. We'll have it on the blog. We'll kind of go through these. Oh, there's the 10 for 10 years. So the reason I say this is obviously on the show we do a lot of really the focus is on the storytelling behind the images. And so there's just so many on here. There it is. Okay, so this photo alone right now, this is one that Philip and I talked about before. And I want you to I'm going to tell you something. You look at this photo, and it's two people standing on a hill, and there's some clouds behind them. It's a beautiful photo. They obviously had either just have gotten married or about to. Beautiful setting. And what blew me away was just kind of the lead up to this and location, and I'll obviously Philip telling kind of a little bit about this. So I'm trying not to spoil it here. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm talking way too much.
You're fine. You're good. You're all good.
Tell us about this.
Well, this is Jordan and Darby, and they got married back in 2009. And wouldn't you know it, the day of their wedding, there was thunderstorms on and off all day. And out in Kansas, there's really there's no cover. No cover of from rain or anything.
What is it with you and rain? What's the deal? Like all your photos just come out.
I don't know.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry. So anyway, we had some time with them. This was before they got married, and we had a good chunk of time with them before we had to meet up with the bridal party. Actually, on a side note, they still hold the record as having the largest bridal party in a wedding that I've shot.
How many?
So I believe they had 10 each.
Wow. Good night.
And then there were some attendants as well.
The house party,
so they rented 2 vans to shuttle people around for photos. But this is just with Jordan and Darby before all that kind of took place. And so we were just kind of trying to drive around and shoot different places. And this hilltop might actually be the largest hill in Kansas. I don't know. There's not many hills in Kansas.
You found the mountain in Kansas.
Found the mountain in Kansas. It's above the timber line. So this is actually a hill from an overpass, and we were below getting ready to go under the overpass, and I just kind of happened to look, and the way that the clouds and the hill sort of came together, it just kind of gave you the illusion that it was you and the storm and the ground, and that was it. Yeah. And I just kind of saw the setting before I did the photo, and I was like, well, all right, we're pulling over here. And my wife was like, she was shooting with me at the time, and she's like, are you crazy? And I'm like, maybe. We'll see. So we got out, and they walked up this hill. I got photos of them walking up the hill and stuff. And thankfully, the grass wasn't too tall. I know a lot of people are super paranoid about getting the wedding clothes dirty, and I stop to think about it sometimes. I'm like, hey, let's go over here through the mud and through the forest. But it worked out really well. I just kind of put them against the sky, and I don't have a background in fashion photography, so a lot of the posing doesn't come naturally to me. So a lot of times I'll just sort of tell people, just have fun. I'll talk to them off camera. We're not shooting video, so I'll make all kinds of weird, semi-inappropriate
quirky.
jokes.
That's
just
the
quirky
word of the night.
jokes.
Quirky,
yes, there we go. Just to get laughs out of people. But for this photo, I just wanted them standing, looking at me. And I love this. This is almost just a feeling of solidarity. Like we're going to make it no matter what.
Wow.
And I believe they call this environmental portraiture, where, the people are there, but they're not the complete focus of the photo. And I love that because I love photos that remind me that I'm not it.
Yeah.
I'm not,
See how small you really are.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
that's beautiful. And that's, like I said, I would have never in 1,000 years have thought that that's what was happening. I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, you see photos and you're like, oh yeah, everything worked out perfectly and it was all staged, and nope, it's actually rarely the case. When you get that shot and you see it and you're like, oh, that's fantastic. It's been a lot of terrible shots up until that point. Not saying that that's what happened, but that's for me. Sorry. Anyway.
Yeah, all the photos I took up to this point had my lens cap on, and then no, I'm just kidding.
Autofocus was off and we were manual, but all right. So we're gonna open it up for questions real quick, and we did have one come through from Derek Mears. He said, "What is your favorite Northwest Arkansas location to shoot?" That's a good question.
Favorite Northwest Arkansas location to shoot. Man,
anywhere in the woods.
Anywhere in the woods. Yeah, I love the woods. I love the lake. I actually enjoy shooting. If it's not Northwest Arkansas specific, I love shooting out near the Buffalo River.
Okay.
Because I just love that area anyway.
Oh, it's beautiful.
There's really good elevation out there. You can get on the very top of the mountain. You can get down and find shade in the middle of the day in the valley, and there's just great scenery out there. I love that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, in our in the opening video of the podcast, if you guys see it and go back and replay it, excuse me, is a drone shot from the buffalo before I knew that it was not okay to fly your drone at the buffalo. So
you found that out the hard way, didn't you?
Yeah. Actually, I think Jason's the one that found that out. That was like, that's a no-go. So don't take your drone up over there. But anyway, it's beautiful, obviously beautiful spot. So that's awesome. All right, so we have another question. How do you do double exposure images? I've seen that in several shots shown.
How do I do double exposure?
That's another great question.
It is a great question.
Yeah,
it is. Well, most modern cameras will allow you to do it. I shoot with a Canon 5D Mark III and a Fuji X Pro 2. Both of those cameras have the setting available to do double exposures. The 5D Mark III is actually a little more advanced in that it will let you shoot multiple exposures, as in more than two. The Fuji will only shoot two. And it shoots them in JPEG. So if you're shooting in RAW and you go to switch to double exposure, it'll actually just shoot a JPEG. But the Canon, everything's RAW. So that's kind of how I do it. A lot of times I'll shoot intentionally, like I'll want something in focus and then I'll want something blurred, and sometimes that blur is just abstract artistic blur, and then sometimes, like in the photo of Ian and Carly, I think it's scrolled through their black and white photo. They're blurred in the foreground, but they're kissing. And you could tell what they're doing, but they're not in focus. And then the focus part of the shot is them kind of standing and holding hands, and it's a little more zoomed out. So that's kind of how I do that. Both of those cameras will actually, if you shoot a photo, and then hit your live view mode, it'll actually overlay the first photo on the live view screen.
Oh, wow.
So
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Well, back when I was shooting Nikon and that technology really wasn't available on any cameras at the time, I was still doing double exposures, but it was more of like a memory thing. Like I would shoot something and then try to remember visually where I had put it in the frame and then move it over. But having that preview photo of the first shot on the live view screen really helps with double exposure.
That's awesome. I've actually only done double exposure in film cameras to where you can just hit it again.
Rewind it.
Yeah, exactly. That's really, really old school. But that's cool. Actually, I didn't know that about the sure you guys get those ready. So what was, you talked about really starting in college and shooting for the newspaper. What was your first camera, or even the camera that you started shooting with?
So my first camera was a Nikon F100, which is just a film camera.
Okay. Yeah.
I still have it. When I switched to Canon, I actually sold all of my Nikon stuff except that camera body.
Nice.
And then I had a dull moment later on when I was like, I sold all my lenses. I'm like, I can't. So I'm
You
gonna
can't do
buy
anything
it.
else
No,
with it,
I can't. It just sits on my shelf. But I'll get a lens for it someday.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was my first camera.
Nice. Okay. So you talked about your Mark III. What other cameras do you have right now?
Do I have right
Besides
now?
that.
Just I've got 2 Mark IIIs and the Fuji X Pro 2, and then I've got I still have my Fuji X100S.
Okay.
Just a little smaller than the X Pro 2.
It's a fun camera too.
It is a great camera. I love that camera, and I've thought about selling it, and I just the nostalgia and the memories I have. It was around my neck when my kids were born, and
Oh man.
took it all through Africa and Europe when I was there, and I didn't even break the Mark III out when I was in Europe. I just traveled with the Fuji. So
There's something nice about just being able to pull it out, take a photo real quick if you need to.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so last question. Who is maybe a favorite photographer of yours? Who do you kind of look up to or admire their work? Anybody offhand?
There's a guy named Sam Hurd, who's in Washington D.C.
Okay.
And he's somebody. I don't follow many photographers by name. I just sometimes look through images and stuff, but I more or less read magazines, some of the like the Kinfolk magazine and some of the blogs and stuff, and kind of just sift through images that way, not really by name of a person. But if I had to pick one person that I've kind of followed, it's Sam Hurd. It's Hurd. He's in Washington D.C. He's a wedding portrait photographer.
Okay.
So
Nice. Well, we'll put that in the show notes. You guys can check that out as well, along with all of Philip's images that we've gone through today. Make sure you guys go to lightchasers.live, and you guys can see the blog there and some of the other featured interviews that we have. So last question I have for you, Philip. So as a photographer starting out, you and I met on the road to Pitcher, Oklahoma, which was an abandoned town. And I heard about this town. It sounded like an amazing place and wonderful place to be. But there were these mountains of chat. Didn't know what that was. There was also just random buildings. But we were rolling through there, and as a new photographer, I learned actually a lot from you just by watching you. But what is a piece of advice you would give somebody kind of getting in this space or wanting to further their photography career?
I would say get out and shoot, which is super general, but shoot with intentionality, and shoot with the idea that you're not going to create something typical. Try to create something atypical. Learn the camera by pushing your creative boundaries.
That's awesome.
Whether that's taking the lens off the camera and like shooting it, with it detached, or whether that's literally like getting a tripod and just figuring out how does this camera work? Why do some shots have motion blur and some don't? Whatever it is, that's really how I got into. That's really what still intrigues me about photography, is just taking time to get out and just, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do something different. So.
That's awesome. Well, and that's communicated through your work. To be honest with you, you have some awesome abstract images that really kind of push the boundaries of things that I would have never thought to even take a picture of. So that's
Thanks.
awesome, man. All right. If you guys have any questions for Philip, make sure to follow up with us after the show. I'm sure Philip will be around and open. Is there anywhere, where can they go to contact you or follow you?
Anybody wants to contact me can actually contact me through the website. It's Novo, Novo-studio.com. Just send me an email through the website. Any questions you have, you can follow me on Instagram at Novo Studio, Twitter at Novo Studio, Facebook at Novo Studio.
Where are you located most of the time?
Where am I located? Like,
No, I was trying to play
or-
off of the at Novo Studio.
Oh, at Novo. Where am I at?
Where are you at most of the time? It fell flat.
I'm everywhere and nowhere. That's kind of
I was about to say it's like most of our Eclipse jokes. They just kind of just fell flat tonight. But I will say, if you call him, you'll get an awesome voicemail message, and there's a video that goes along with that voicemail message that Jay Money over here helped shoot, and myself. I'm very, very proud of that video, so you guys should check that out too. Man, this is just a jam-packed episode. So thanks, Philip. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so make sure you guys check out, like I said before, lightchasers.live, and the podcast is now up on iTunes, so please go over and subscribe and rate as well. We would love to obviously have some reviews on there. That just helps us get our name out there and be able to interview other awesome photographers like Philip here. So anyway, hey, dude, thanks again for...
Thank you.
Thanks again we'll have our handshake here.
Thank you all, too.
Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on Light Chasers Live. Thanks. Should we put on our glasses?
Yeah, let's just end how we started.